Hello friends, finally I have tried my level best to be connected with you on Facebook live, but because of some problem it's get disconnected. Therefore I thought to make a video and thereafter post it on the Facebook. So because of some problem I could not come live on Facebook as the network of the company of Airtel is not proper. Still making this video and thereafter I'll post it on Facebook. So friend, today I would like to address you on the topic of FIR and private complaint under section 156 subsection 3 of CRPC. These two terms and subjects are very much important for all lawyers who are practicing and from the viewpoint of litigant also. FIR is very famous, whereas private complaint only lawyers knows. Common people generally talk about the FIR. So what is FIR? FIR under section 154 of CRPC is nothing but first information report given by the person against some known or unknown person that cognizable offense has been committed. Then such a information can be in the written form. Yes, the same information can be through oral form. Yes, or the same information can be through email forwarded or submitted to the concerning police officer. Yes, all are the possibilities. So when the cognizable offense has or have been committed by known or unknown person, then aggrieved party or anybody other than him can always inform the police. Now in general parlance we say that XYZ person has complained to the police, but layman can speak like that, but the lawyers should say that the information was given to police, because there is a difference between the information and the complaint. Complaint under section 2D of the CRPC says that complaint is always before the magistrate with a view that the magistrate will take action or cognizance for any offense committed, whether cognizable or non-cognizable, by known or unknown person, etc. So whenever we use the term complaint, it refers to a magistrate only, section 2D, whereas the information which we give or informant gives to the police, that is called information, and it is not complaint, though in general parlance we talk about that complaint. So the information can be given by the person who is aggrieved, or suppose X person is being beaten by 3-4 persons, then thereafter he is attacked by so many people. Thereafter that person can move to the police station and can complain against the accused, or anybody other than him can also inform the police. So the informant, not necessarily he should be the victim. Victim may be informant, or other than victim may be informant, because it is not barred under the law. Now what is the criteria to register FIR? Section 154 of the CRPC says that when cognizable offense has been committed by persons accused, whether they are known or unknown, then the FIR has to be registered by in charge of the police, officer in charge of the police, and it does not depend upon the discretion, will and wish of the police officer, because he is statutorily required, mandatorily required to register the FIR, and there is no option left with him. Now we have to know the difference between cognizable offense and non-cognizable offense. Under CRPC, cognizable offense is such an offense for which the police can arrest without warrant and can do investigation without the permission of the magistrate. On the contrary, non-cognizable offenses are those offenses which are not severe in nature, which are not serious in nature, punishable for less than 3 years generally. So non-cognizable offenses are such offenses for which police cannot arrest directly, without taking the permission of the magistrate or taking the warrant. Similarly, police in NC cases cannot do investigation without the permission of the magistrate or without the order of the magistrate. This is the basic difference. So when the cognizable offense is committed, then information has to be given by aggrieved person or by any other person on his behalf. Then police will register FIR. Sometime the FIR can be online, sometime oral information can be given to the police officers, or written information can be given to the police, and the police in charge, officers in charge of the police will reduce the same in writing and will register the FIR, and he will return one copy of the FIR with him, that is police station. One copy will be given to the court having jurisdiction over that. 3. The copy of the FIR will be given to the complainant. And 4th, the copy of FIR should be given to the accused also. Now, as per the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court of India, the copy of FIR has to be uploaded on the website of the police so that it could be accessible to the people or any person who is interested to get the copy. Because once the FIR is registered, it becomes public document according to Indian evidence law. Therefore, anybody can get the copy, certified copy of the same. Now, another question arises whether FIR is to be considered as evidence. Answer is no, because FIR cannot be treated as evidence. However, this can information given reduced in writing, that is in the prescribed form as provided by the government, that FIR, the information therein can be corroborated or contradicted by the informant. Okay, therefore the FIR is not substantial piece of evidence, or it is not evidence at all. It is just information about the commission of cognizable offense. Likewise, if the offense is non-cognizable, then FIR cannot be registered. For that, NC has to be registered under section 155 of CRPC. That is called NC, non-cognizable offenses. Now, there are two possibilities that the police officer will register FIR, and in case if the police officer does not register the FIR, then what are the remedy available to the person, aggrieved person? Because if you are filing complaint or FIR against the, wish to file FIR against the builder or politician or rich persons or any big officer, etc., then probably the police officer will not register FIR immediately. In that case, what remedy available to the aggrieved person? Then he has to complain the superintendent of the police, and in metro cities he has to complain the police commissioner. That is given in accordance with order of the Supreme Court of India in Priyanka Srivastav's judgment. Thereafter, if the inspector has not taken cognizance, SP or commissioner has not taken cognizance, means they have not done anything, they have neglected and refused to register FIR, then the remedy available to the victim is to file private complaint before the magistrate within whose jurisdiction the offence falls or comes. Then a complaint has to be filed, that is petition, that is called private complaint before the magistrate. That magistrate may be JMFC or Judicial Magistrate second class. But in Maharashtra there is no post of JM Judicial Magistrate second class, whereas in some states of India the Judicial Magistrate second class is also post available. So the complaint, this private complaint can be filed to first class magistrate or second class magistrate. Both are empowered to take the action on that. Once the private complaint is filed before the magistrate, then after subjective satisfaction of the magistrate, after argument is being done by the lawyer of the complainant, after hearing him, in prima facie it appears to the magistrate that the cognizable offence has been committed, then the magistrate will order or direct the police officer to registered FIR. In such a cases, the order is given under section 156 subsection 3. The order is dictated like this. It is directed to the police officer to register FIR, or it is directed the police officer to do investigation. In that case, if only investigation is ordered, then automatically it has to be inferred by us that not only the magistrate has ordered for investigation only, but FIR has to be registered, though the wording of the magistrate does not cover that. Because without FIR, no investigation can start or invoke. That has to be impliedly. Likewise, even if the magistrate has ordered to register FIR, then definitely investigation has to be done. Now, sometime in exceptional cases, the aggrieved party can also go to the Honorable High Court under writ jurisdiction by way of filing writ of mandamus. Because the police officer is public officer, and if he omitted to do his public duty, then surely a writ petition can be filed against him and he can be directed to register FIR on the ground that the cognizable offence has been committed and no action has been taken by police officer or SP, etc. However, the Honorable Court generally do not entertain such kind of petitions, because why? There is already settled principle that if alternate remedies available, like 156 subsection 3 private complaint, that is alternate remedy. Therefore, the party directly cannot jump to the Honorable High Court, cannot directly rush to the Honorable High Court. So, in exceptional cases, when there is a violation of the fundamental right, or when it is really warranted to give the justice, or the same justice cannot be given by the trial court under section 156 subsection 3, in that case, court can entertain. The Honorable High Court has got the ample power to entertain such, but this is exceptionally they do it. Now, once the magistrate has directed the police officer to register FIR and to do investigation, then police officer will do investigation, and as far as the investigation is concerned, that is the zone or the area or the powers of the police officer. Therefore, police officer is supposed to be executive. Thereafter, the magistrate has no power to direct the police officer to do investigation in particular way only, or the magistrate cannot dictate or mandate the manner in which the investigation is to be done, etc. Or the magistrate has no power to say to stop the investigation, etc. Therefore, the police officer is supposed to collect the all evidences and record the statement of the necessary persons, prosecution witnesses, etc., and collect the evidences, and thereafter he is supposed to file the charge sheet under section 156 subsection 3. In case if such a charge sheet is filed, that is also called police report, then still it cannot be said that the investigation is complete. Sometime police may get, IO may get some additional information, additional evidences, he may record further witnesses. In that case, he has to submit supplementary charge sheet, that is called further investigation, according to section 173 subsection 8 of the CRPC. Now, what happens once the charge sheet is submitted to the magistrate? Whether he is bound to accept the charge sheet? No, because once the report is given by the police officer, then the judge can apply his own mind, and he is not bound to accept the report, whether A report, A summary report, B summary report, or C summary report. He can apply his own mind, judicial mind, etc. Because he cannot be kept helpless or solely dependent upon the report of the police officer. Therefore, the action of the magistrate itself is independent, and he is not bound to accept the report of the police officer. If magistrate dismiss the private complaint under section 156 subsection 3, then the remedy available to the person to file criminal revision under section 397 of the CRPC before the Sessions Court. Likewise, if the magistrate has issued the process and directed the police officer to register FIR and to submit the charge sheet, or to do investigation. In that case, the aggrieved party can always go to the Sessions Court under revision under Section 397 of the CRPC. Now, there are some judgments which are very much important, which I am going to discuss here. See, sometime if directly informant or the complainant who files complaint before the magistrate, he does not, suppose he has not approached the police officer, neither in charge of the police officer nor SP or commissioner, directly he came to the court. In that case, according to one of the judgment of the Honorable High Court of Bombay in Popat Bhai versus Pancha Bhai, Honorable High Court said that court learned magistrate can accept the same and the act of the person who files the complaint can be justified, and he cannot be directed once again to approach the police officer or to approach this or to withdraw the petition, comply this. However, latestly Honorable Supreme Court of India has passed the judgment called Priyanka Srivastav's judgment, wherein the Honorable Honorable Supreme Court of India has mandated that the person who files the private complaint has to comply Section 154 subsection 3, the guidelines therein, that he has to apply to the police officer first. He should give information to the police officer first. If he does not take, he refuses to register FIR, then he has to go to the SP or commissioner as the case may be. Then that is mandatory. If both they have not taken action, then private complaint can be entertained by magistrate. These are the guidelines framed in Priyanka Srivastav's case. Now, the judgment is delivered by the Honorable Supreme Court. Therefore, according to Article 141 of the Constitution of India, it is the law of the land and having binding force on all the high courts and trial courts in India, which need to be respected, which need to be followed. Otherwise, there will be a contempt of court against the magistrate. Thereafter, another judgment we have covered Popat Bhai versus Pancha Bhai and Priyanka Srivastav. Then another judgment is also important regarding this aspect of 156 subsection 3, that is Lalita Kumari versus State of UP. Lalita Kumari judgment is very much important because what guidelines have been framed by the Honorable Supreme Court in this case, that it is not discretion of the police officer to register FIR, because he has not left with any option, provided that the information given to him reveals cognizable offence has been committed. If the information given by the informant reveals cognizable offence, then he must register the FIR and there is no other way left to the police officer. Therefore, registration of FIR does not depend upon the will or wish of the police officer, but mandatorily he has to register the FIR. No discretion is left with him. The only criteria which he has to see is that whether the information reveals that whether cognizable offence has been committed or not. That's simple. However, in certain cases, the police officer can take some time to register the FIR because he may be confused, he may not be knowing the proper fact, etc. Therefore, he may take to do a preliminary inquiry. That is allowed. However, the Honorable Supreme Court said that in matrimonial cases or in fraud cases under Section 420, etc., or business transaction, etc., inquiry can be done so as to ascertain whether cognizable offence has been committed or not. The scope of inquiry is very limited to know whether cognizable offence has been committed or not, and the limitation is given that in 1 week police officer has to decide this. And the police officer cannot go into the credibility or genuineness of the information, because that is the task to be checked by the Honorable trial court. Through evidences they can check. Therefore, the scope of the work of the inquiry to be carried out by the police officer is to ascertain whether cognizable offence has been committed or not. And in case if the erring police officer refuse to register FIR, then action can be taken against such a police officer. That is the guidelines framed by Honorable Supreme Court in Lalita Kumari's case. This is very much important case. Now, once the FIR is registered by the magistrate, directed by the magistrate, and magistrate has directed for investigation, then obviously the remedy available to the victim, जो victim against whom FIR is registered, he can go to the honorable court for getting it quashed, or he may file anticipatory bail application. That is to protect his right. He can access the remedy available to him provided under the laws. Now, there is also one judgment called Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar, which is very much important, which says that, which speaks about the guidelines as to arrest. The Honorable Supreme Court of India has said that the power to arrest is one thing and justification of arrest is another thing. The fact that the offence is cognizable, that entitles the police officer to arrest the accused, but the police officer should not do the arrest in mechanical way. Only the criteria is not that offence is cognizable, therefore he has to arrest. So he cannot work like a machine, or he cannot work in mechanic way. He has to apply his mind. He has to justify the arrest. He should think whether arrest is really required or arrest is really needed. Therefore, he has to cite the reasons. So the guidelines have been framed in Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar, and notice has to be issued under section 41 of the CRPC against the person who is likely to be arrested. Without notice, he cannot be arrested. Thereafter, police has to cite the reasons if arrest is really required. He has to give the reasons to the magistrate that his further detention is required. Then magistrate is also casted upon the duty to check whether his custody is really required or not, etc. Therefore, based on this Arnesh Kumar, the duty is casted on not only the police officer but also on the magistrate. And for violation of this judgment, they both can be proper action can be initiated against the police officer as well as against the magistrate. This judgment of Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar is not only applicable in case of 498A matters of IPC, but it is applicable against the all kind of offences which are punishable up to 7 years. Therefore, the protection is given to the person from getting arrested, because his liberty is going to be curtailed if he gets arrested. Hence, to protect the liberty of the accused, these rights are given under through this judgment of Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar. The judgment is very famous and came into, I think, 2015. Prior to that, police officer used to arrest anyone. Now, this is not the subject in which we should discuss in detail here, because now we are discussing 156 and FIR. Now, another section of CRPC 190 of CRPC 190 and 202, or read with 202. If the offence is